Yo, welcome back to the Audio Theory Podcast. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button as well as the subscribe button. What's good, Danny? How have you been?
I've been good, dude. Great to see you. We took a little week hiatus, but we're back. I was in Dallas, Texas, visiting the in-laws and doing a little business stuff. Bro, the weather it was meant to be freezing in Dallas, but it was like that nice surprise where you think it's going to be cold, but you're like, oh, dude, I can walk in this and the sun is out. Like it's 60, but like not cold in any way, or like 55, but the sun is out. So it was beautiful. Bro, fucking the day before I leave, tornado, wind, fire warnings, flight cancellation. I'm just like, bro. Like now, dude, 24 hours, dude, like the city's panicking, but I made it home safe. But I was 8 hours delayed on Saturday, bro. Like I got to the airport at 5:50 p.m. for a 7:30 flight. I didn't take off till 1:30 in the morning.
Damn.
With the time difference, didn't walk into my house until 5:50 a.m. the next day. So again, I'm grateful I got home safe and sound, obviously, because there was some a lot of people actually like died, bro. Like there was like a lot of tornado bullshit in like the Arkansas, Texas area. I think like 30 people died. Damn. So it could have been much worse. So I'm not complaining, obviously being delayed, but it's like, bro, the weather was perfect all week, and now when we're like, it's time to go home, you're like, actually, let's see if we can fuck this up for you. But yeah. Besides that, I had a great time in Dallas, bro. How was your week away? How was your weekend? How are things over there?
Things have been good. Honestly, haven't been doing too much this past week or so since I returned from Hawaii. Just kind of head down, focused on work. The wifey came back towards the end of last week, so we hung out this weekend with some friends. But besides that, been getting back into music. I know a lot of good music has come out recently that I've stumbled upon, and honestly, those moments kind of inspire me to get back into the flow of things. So I don't want to jinx it, because like every single time I feel like I'm on the cusp of like releasing something that I want to, I end up like getting my attention diverted to like a new beat or some shit, and then I end up never releasing anything. So I finally like have completed a huge portion of something I'm really proud of. So I'm hoping to get that out soon, but again, not rushing anything. But yeah, the new music recently has really propelled me in that direction. So I know we're gonna get into a lot of that stuff, but I'm feeling good about this year.
Nice. And then we're about to segue into a lot of new music, but has there been any specific like sound or artist that kind of has like caught your attention the most to actually like trigger that inspiration again?
Yeah, I mean, without risking a cancellation for myself, probably Tory Lanez.
Okay.
I mean, prior to all this shit, he was somebody who I always admired his sound, because he does the whole melodic rap singing thing very well, and I think sonically is like just very appealing to me. And I think there were several cuts on his recent album that just made me really eager to like, obviously not bite this style or like do what he's doing, but I was like, damn, like I just feel like I could do something and create something just as dope. So that's kind of what pushed me in the direction of doing this.
Dope, bro. That's dope. And especially if he's doing it in jail, like what's your excuse, right? Like
yeah. Right. I hope I don't need that inspiration to actually complete it, because I can do it while I'm alive and free.
100%. So I love that, dude. I'm excited to go over that review shortly, but let's get into it. Episode 205 about to start. Episode 204. We did the Some Sexy Songs for You, the Larry June 2 Chainz review that's up everywhere, and the clips are up everywhere as well. So go peep that. But episode 205, we're recording this on March 17th, my G. How the fuck are we halfway through March? It's fucking crazy. But we're here. We surprisingly, I think it was surprise. I think we were more surprised he actually dropped the album, him being Playboi Carti. The album dropped. Music, I guess the cover says I Am Music, but I think the official title is Music. The album dropped, like around like 12:30 p.m. Eastern on a Friday. But again, I think that's becoming more normal with like Kendrick dropping it whenever he wanted it on Friday for GNX, and I think Tyler also did something similar on a Tuesday. So whatever the case may be, the hype was there. People responded in a big way. I think as of right now, Friday was the biggest stream day for any artist in 2025 on Spotify, and Playboi got that acknowledgement. So before I go into my thoughts, what were your thoughts on the album itself, removing any of the hype or marketing behind it?
Yeah. Man, I have a lot to say about Carti just because I feel like he's so polarizing, which is odd because he doesn't really say or do much. He just kind of pops up here and there and somehow has this like mysterious aura that people are obsessed with. But as someone who's not a hardcore Carti fan but loves, you know, bits and pieces of his appearances here and there, I had very low expectations. Not to say that, you know, his fan base wouldn't be happy with it or that he's bad. It's just that I'm not a diehard fan. So what am I really going to expect? But I would say overall, I thought the production was very good and like expensive sounding. To be honest, I think generally for me, like his production carries most of his music. And it's every time I listen to it, I'm like, this would be dope live, the energy from him and the crowd. But personally, I just don't think there's a whole lot of environments where this music makes a whole lot of sense to me. And lyrically, I'm not even someone who's like a backpacker. Like I need conscious raps that are, vowing to change the world and shit. But sometimes I would like to even understand what the fuck the language is. And half the time it's like that, like baby voice, like repeated over and over. And I'm just asking myself, okay, what really is going on here? Or should I just shut up and listen and like, just appreciate it for what it is? But I would say at the end of the day, listening to the album, I'm definitely not the target audience. I think if you're a Carti fan, you're probably very happy with this, especially with how many songs
I think if you're
are.
a Carti, not to jump in, but I think if you're a Carti fan, you're very happy with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And not the fan of a 30 song cut or however many were on this, but as someone who's not a target audience, I guess it kind of is helpful because I'm going to walk away with something if you're putting out that much music. And then two final things. One, I do appreciate this trend of not putting the features in the song title, at least initially, because I have a tendency to skip ahead. Yeah. And I knew Kendrick was going to be on it, and I knew I wouldn't have the discipline to sit through like 5 songs I didn't like just to get to Kendrick or whatever. So it forced me to listen to the whole thing throughout. And then second, I think the features were kind of underwhelming. I mean, even Kendrick's to a degree.
This guy's stealing all my takes.
Kendrick still did a great job, but like I think that it's just Carti's not meant for like standout performances from many people, or maybe like I don't really know what to say about the features, but to me, like I didn't walk away feeling like anyone who was featured like did the most mind-blowing thing. Kendrick would be at the top of the list if I had to say someone, but again, the bar was so low. It's like no one else was even rapping, so like anything Kendrick says is gonna stand out. But yeah, walked away. It was cool. I don't know if like a 5-year wait, if that was necessarily worth it in this instance, but at the end of the day, I think considering the broader landscape of hip hop, like it's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah. So just before I give in echo some of those things you said, because I think we're gonna have a couple similar takes, I'll try to put some nuance on it while I think about it. But what was the setting that you actually were able to like dive into the entire body of work?
So I listened to the album just all of Friday, mostly I would say a combination of in the car and at home.
Okay, so at home you were able to like truly get those fucking like bass going loud and like try to like recreate whatever like euphoric stadium rolling loud atmosphere that I think he was kind of shooting for.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, as much as I could, like on a Friday when it's still sunny out and I'm just in a peaceful suburban neighborhood. But yeah, I tried to.
Okay, yeah. So for me, I was in Dallas. I was listening to it in the car, dropping off the rental, and I was like, man, this Chevy Trax is not doing it for me right now, bro. Like, I don't like, this is like not loud enough. And I'm like, but the beat sounds loud enough. But then, like, is it his mic that's too low? Like, what's going on here? So I'm like, let me not even judge it off this. So then today, bro, this morning on a Monday morning on the 17th, my boy and I, Sam, who you know, we have a private gym we go to. So when we go, we have the entire gym to ourselves for like an hour and a half, and like we have access to like this big ass speaker. So I threw it on there, and I'm like, bro, like if this height doesn't get me going, I'm like, it's not for me. And bro, like we had it blasting, and I was still like, bro, like how is this loud but also low at the same time? And like that's like, I just felt very confused throughout the entire listening of this album, man. And I want to echo something you said, like the features, bro. Like I think we've complained about this before when it's like Lil Baby, Lil Durk, Future, Young Thug, Travis, Playboi. Like bro, like these guys are on Young Thug. They're all on each other's music all the time. Like it's not even special, bro. Like if I get a Playboi Future, if I get a Future song that has a Playboi feature, and then you just do the reverse on your album, it's like, bro, like, was this needed? Right? Like, I appreciate there was, I think one of the albums either, on 21 Savage, All American Dream. Like, I appreciate he didn't have fucking more Drake features. Like, bro, we heard everything you two could say together. We don't need any more. And I felt that way with like the Future and like Travis Scott. Like, dude, the Travis Scott ones, I actually think those songs were fine, but bro, his ad libs are so tired to me and like so repetitive that I'm like, bro, are you even with him in the booth, or is this just like a fucking button that you have to push? Because I'm like, bro, this is so like unimaginative, like unimaginative in any capacity, but the production still felt very good. Right, like you said expensive. That's funny you said it because I smiled because it reminded me of the Weeknd's album, where like, and I think they're all like signed to some kind of, or they're all aligned in some way. But it felt very rich, right? Like even if it was just like gunshots over a trap, whatever. But even that sounded like the best, most expensive version of that you could ever ask for. But I mean, again, besides a couple like songs where he's kind of like whispering and it kind of, you know, I think Crush is a good example of that. I mean, I'll share, that's like my favorite song off the album, where it's like he's like whispering and you think there's going to be a build up and you're like, all right, you're like, well, this is going to be it. But for the most part, bro, I feel like he's not loud enough for how braggadocious those production things are, that he gets lost in these songs. And then if you have other rappers on the songs with you who are clearly better rappers than you get even lost more. Like, bro, like I'm not even gonna go down the road on this particular topic right now of like how Kendrick should or shouldn't be on the album. Like, bro, who gives a fuck? But bro, if you're gonna have that guy who's like the elites of elite rappers, you can't. Yeah, man, like it just didn't make sense. Like it just didn't. A lot of it just didn't make sense to me. But I put my hands up, and I think different to Larry June, because again, Larry June's of a certain age. Like, bro, this music is 1000% not for us, right? Like, I saw the people reactions to Rolling Loud. I know people are losing their minds online immediately saying this is a classic, blah blah blah. But I don't know, man. For like, if you're like 32 plus, I failed to comprehend how this makes sense for you, which is why like the idea of like Future and The Weeknd and Kendrick, and I'm like, bro, like are you guys just trying to be a part of the hype right now, or you genuinely believe in this type of sound? So yeah, I think I left the album just being confused as to like, what am I meant to be listening, but clarity of like, all right, this is, I've never listened to an hour and a half worth of Carti music twice. So like I left with clarity, like, bro, this is definitely just not for me.
Yeah. I had a difficult time kind of understanding what the point of it is. And again, it doesn't have to be some grandiose, like life-changing, self-reflective, theme. But at the same time, I don't even know what the like surface level, more empty, stereotypical hip hop theme of it was. Like, fuck bitches get money could have been the theme, and I still have no idea if that was like the intent. Like, I just don't understand what each song's purpose was and where it was going. To your point, a lot of it was repetitive and it felt like a hook for 2 minutes. And
Yeah.
that might be cool if you really like the beat and the hook, but I just had a difficult time following. And it sounded great, but I still don't understand where Carti's input kind of falls into all of it. Like, what makes him the standout versus all the production and like guest appearances.
Right. Because I get the whole thing. This is like rage rap, like whatever that genre is, and I guess that he's the face of that. But like in any kind of genre, dude, what are you saying, bro? Like, you just saying it's us just saying it's rage rap. Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you could only play this at in a mosh pit type atmosphere. But like, what triggers? Like, what is being said to trigger the mosh pit? You know, like what is he saying that you're just like, oh, this is the guy? Like, because I don't think he's making these fucking beats, right? So you can't be in love with him for that. Like, yeah, I just left confused, bro. Like, confused. I guess like it's also more confusing because like our first, again, people are going to evolve, especially when you are 22 or 23. When we first saw him on Rolling Loud to 28 years old now, but like the fact that Magnolia and like Woke Up Like This were like his coming out songs. And again, this is not new information, but like this aggressive shift is also like confusing. You know, like I could kind of get that more because that felt like more New York City, Atlanta, like rap that like felt like good for the soul. Like, this is just like weird, bro. I'm not even going down the satanic nonsense and people saying that he's talking about sacrifice. I'm not even talking about that. This just like feels like, as a grown man, very odd to be like, yeah, put that back on for me. Like that's like where I was struggling, bro. I was actually concerned, like if other guests walked into the gym, like, should I change this? Like, is this like too specific for like the masses to like, you know, enjoy? So yeah, man, I just left the listening just very confused.
Yeah.
And eager to change it, by the way. Like, very eager to like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Like,
gotcha. No, it did feel like a chore for me as well at certain points. And I consider myself someone like, even at my age, I feel like there's a lot of quote unquote music for like younger audiences that older people might say they don't really understand or get. But I think with this, like, I legitimately don't know what he's saying or what I'm supposed to be repeating. So I think it makes it hard for it to land, because it's like, you know, with someone like, I don't know, Gunna or something like Fuck You Mean and all that stuff, like no one would argue that that music is meaningful, but at least you know what like it's meant for and what life he's portraying in those 3 minutes. But this is just like literal gibberish half the time. And even if it's not, like, I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. So
yeah,
like, I know it's still difficult to make, like, regardless of if it's meaningful or not, it's difficult to make music that is catchy and attracts an audience. But I think for me in particular, like, this Carti stuff is tough. And I love the song Timeless with Weeknd, but part of it's I actually know what he's saying. So
yeah, but part of it's also all he's saying is the same repetitive things for like 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think when it's like those small bites of him as the feature or like an extensive hook, I think it's easier to resonate with that as opposed to, hey, let me give you like, I'm the main star here and then other people are going to feature. Like, I feel like him as the lead guy, bro, is very challenging, I think, for the average hip hop. I would assume for the average hip hop consumer.
It's almost like people like ironically like fuck with the sounds. It's like, oh, let's see how weird he can get. And
bro, I was gonna
like,
ask you that because I was more curious to ask you about like the fact that he even labeled the album I Am Music. And like, again, it feels like a lot of people
like
online are, yeah, like, bro, like, but like, is it trolling or do people genuinely believe this? Right? Like, do people think this is like the next sound?
I think there's a good portion of people who genuinely believe it. You know, it's like one of those things, you manifest it, like you say it enough times to yourself or joke about it enough and it becomes reality. And I think a good portion of his fans legitimately think he's like the messiah of music, and they don't even consider it rap because he's a fucking like vampire rock star or whatever he is. So he can't even be boxed in. Like, I don't think fans are boxing him into rap. They're like, oh, he's an aura or a movement or whatever other buzzword you want to use.
So then the elephant in the room, then having those three Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar is kind of co-signing it lyrically in a big way. You know, I don't know about any interviews down the road, but lyrically he's co-signing him in a big way. So like, what are your thoughts on that?
On Kendrick co-signing him?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's been talks from like a morality standpoint, if it makes sense. I honestly, I don't think it's fair to now analyze every single person Kendrick stands next to unless they're like a known predator, because that's pretty much
oh my bad. I would even, and we can go down this road too. I was talking more side like how it's weird that the masses are co-signing him from like, hey, this is the next sound of music. Your thoughts on Kendrick kind of co-signing him like as a like this true artist where we're finding it difficult to even comprehend what the fuck he's saying.
I do think it's odd in the sense of Kendrick's been on this like watch the party die tirade, and I kind of consider Playboi Carti one of the hosts of the party.
Yeah, the headliner.
the one who is supplying the perks and shit. So I think that part is a bit odd, but the more I think about it, I think it's less about like being righteous and more about being authentic. So like even with Future, for instance, like I think it seems like he's a known sleazebag or whatever you want to call him, like who wears it on his sleeve and is cool with it. But I think for someone like Kendrick, it's not an issue because like that's one of the like many facets of being human in his eyes. Like,
sure,
that's just him. He's authentic. Whereas I think this battle with Drake is like, you're trying to be that and promote that, but that's not you. I think it's less about like who these people are and more about don't portray something you're not, because that does more damage because you don't suffer the consequences. Whereas, you know, with like Playboi Carti, he probably just sees him as like some troubled hood kid who like, you know, is celebrating something he can't change or whatever.
Yeah, I think the
like a convoluted way of looking at it, but
no, dude. But I think there's something there. I think this is probably Kendrick standing next to him, or he maybe can justify in the sense of like he wants to be around authenticity, right? And even if that authenticity is like sleazebag or, you know, vampire, vamp life or whatever, he's like, if that's your authentic self, I fuck with that, right? Whatever that is. It was just weird, like some of the lyrics where he's like, I'm your evil twin, Carti's my evil twin, and it's like, bro, is he, bro? Like, what do you like? You truly identify with this guy in some kind of way? But yeah, I think there's a story there. Yeah, I'm not even worried about, bro, like you called Drake this or you don't like that, but you're standing. I don't care about that. I was more like, again, he's literally co-signing this guy as an artist, right? On the album that he's defining himself as, I am music. And you're on 3 songs pretty much saying, yeah. And it's like, bro, what? Like,
but also, like, I mean, strategically, I could see how it makes sense by like Kendrick knowing that in order to infiltrate like the system and get his message, like he has to align with the popular people that normally wouldn't fuck with him. Obviously, he's not gonna do that with Drake because that seems like a bit more personal. But I think besides that, like, it's a genius move for him to align with the people that maybe artistically aren't, you know, don't provide the most value from like a message standpoint. But if he does align with the Cardis and those guys, like, it's much easier for him for people to at least be willing to listen and potentially fuck with the more meaningful shit he might have to say outside of that
yeah,
song.
dude. But my thing, and I agree with you, right? Like, it is strategic and it makes sense. So like, I think there's a couple facets to this. So one, I feel like it's odd that everything you said I agree with. However, that's also the shit that half the shit he said that Drake does to his advantage, go to Atlanta to pop, you know, like him being on this Carti album is strictly it should be for only strategic reason, because it doesn't make sense, right? Like, I think sonically it's kind of odd. Besides that one song that's like was it the backdoor one? That like kind of he has like a similar flow to like 30 for 30 and like, again I think like that flow right now is like an absolute fucking cheat code. It's like whatever Post Malone was doing like it 5 years ago, he knew exactly what notes to hit. Kendrick Lamar has figured it out with that Luther 30 for 30 backdoor. So those songs did sound great, but I think it was just funny that like I think this is clearly a strategic play of like, hey, this is going to be the biggest album out this year for whatever reason, right? The nicheness of it, the excitement, the mysteriousness of it. Let me get on this album to make it very clear that I am the fucking party, right? But yeah, it just felt weird, bro. It's like that's everything you accused Drake of being, and like you shitted on it, right? And then the second part, I know we're gonna get to the UMG stuff later. Bro, it's not a coincidence that all these dudes are signed to UMG, and this is like almost like another way of like, it's these guys, and then there's one guy not on this, and like I think it's not a coincidence, bro. So like it was very like, again, I know all of these guys jump on each other's songs, but it was very interesting to have him like back in this realm with these dudes, like because again, the Future and I know he has other songs with Future, but the Metro and Future and like that record was. Again, almost out of left field, right? We haven't heard Kendrick on those type of productions with those guys since Black Panther, bro. What that was like almost like 10 fucking years ago, right? So to follow that up less than a year later with 3 fucking songs on this album, it felt like some bigger, strings being pulled to make it very clear that, bro, we're gonna make sure whoever comes out is seen as the biggest thing to make your sound or noise or whatever just feel like a thing of the past, bro. So like I think some of that was also that's my conspiracy theory of the episode. I don't have many more, but I think some of that was in play here.
Yeah, and to push back a little bit on the Drake Atlanta thing, I think the difference is, I think at the end of the day, it all goes back to like authenticity and motive. I feel like Kendrick's not saying like you shouldn't collaborate with artists from different regions or anything to that effect. I think it's more so he sees Drake as someone who's one like doing it infinitely more frequent level, but also just like changing his whole persona and like who he is to that region as well. It's almost like, not only am I going to collaborate with you, but I'm going to like adopt the culture and like conveniently forget I'm even from Toronto for the purpose of this song, and have that sound and be in the clubs and like be in Atlanta literally and all that stuff. Whereas I think Kendrick's, for the moment, like just, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, I think like Southern and Atlanta rap has just kind of always been dominant. So yeah, if he does want to pop in for like a popular cultural moment, he kind of has like no choice but to work with, I mean, it's fucking Future, Carti, Travis from the South. So he doesn't even like really have many options to make a wave outside of that.
Which again, it's my point with like Drake. If Drake wants to collab with someone, who is Drake going to collab with, bro? Like,
right. And that's why Drake, if I was Drake, I would say fuck it. I mean, granted, everyone hates him now from the South, or the people he used to work with, but I would just work with whoever, because he can't win unless you fucking work with some dude out of like Nebraska or some shit.
Yeah. Or some Pims who we never heard of. And it's like, all right, well, at least someone likes him. But yeah, let's put a bow on the IM Music review. I think we both agreed interesting features, underwhelming or overwhelming, depending how you look at it. But I think we both agree that Carti kind of got lost in the mix of all that and the over-the-top production. So I mean, I would say for me, I would give it a C+, because I just think that production quality is too good for it to be any. I'll go C+. But again, it was very challenging for me to listen to it because it was confusing why the production was over the top, but his vocals were so low to me. So yeah, I would say C+ from my side. How about you?
Yeah, I think C+ is fair. I didn't walk away feeling like it was horrible, but definitely left wanting a lot more. So yeah, I think C plus is fair.
Very cool. All right. Well, let us know your thoughts. Comment. Yeah, definitely comment. Let us know what your thoughts. Are we missing it? Are we just two old heads who just will never get it? That's fine. But I do think the record has shown that we listen to, like, I mean, dude, there was no bigger Kid Laroi and Jaden Smith fan than us, and we were 30-year-old men then. So, you know, I do think young sounds are fine. It just needs to make sense. But either way, let's go to another album review. This one came out 2 weeks ago, right? I think a week ago, or maybe like a week and a half ago. Tory Lanez Peterson. It is 20 songs, an hour and a half worth of content. Everyone featured on the album was a relative. I believe that was the case. So your thoughts on this project, which, again, I think we might have some similarities with like how good the quality, at least the production was for this, considering everything.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love this album. The production and sound of it, to me, was flawless. Had me in awe on how, easily he seemingly put this whole thing together. Especially because it sounds a whole lot better produced than some of the stuff that comes out from people that are completely free. So I don't really know if that's just a testament to how amazing his team is or what, but kudos to them. I think thematically it was also impressive that for that many songs he was able to stick to a prison theme and not, run through the same exact points over and over, especially for, people who, have never experienced that. Like, he touched on so many interesting themes, like obviously, the violence part of it. And then, banging a female cop, debatable if that's true, but regardless, the theme was dope.
Sounded dope. Yeah.
And he had like the voicemail skits in there and just touched upon, and then like someone banging his girl while he's in jail. And that's one of my favorite songs, Sailor Moon. And I thought all of that was just incredible. And it just sounded really good. And, hopefully he's truly innocent. Cause if he is, I want him to be out now or yesterday. But the one critique I have is the album cover and just everything kind of had me wondering if he wanted this to happen. It just seems like he kind of like loves the aesthetic of being in prison and just the image of it. Cause in the cover, he kind of has like a very like, I'm a tough
Diesel
guy.
Yeah.
Diesel. I mean, obviously I'm not knocking him for being Diesel, but it kind of looked like he was feeling good about like, yeah, I'm in prison. I'm that nigga type look on his face.
And like finally get that cosign for being like a tough guy.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for a crime that like is not tough guy shit, which makes it even weirder.
That's my point. I think it makes it even weirder.
Right. So it makes me wonder, like as he's making all this great music and talking about it, like just part of him using this as a means of enhancing his image, and it's just like a write-off, like, okay, yeah, I'll sit in here for a few years, but guess what, like I'm boosting my confidence and image, and this is all gonna work out for me in the long run. So kind of low-key glad it happened. Like, I know that sounds like a sadistic way to think, but it I couldn't help but wonder, like it seems like he's relishing in the prison life a little more than I would think. But then
it's again, almost like, what's the alternative? Like, lose your fucking mind and like,
right.
So I feel like
very well might be it.
Yeah, I think you maybe like, I think if you're honest with you, maybe if you're him, you have to spin it in a way like, you know what, bro? Like, fuck it. I'm going to be it. And it is what it is. And I'm going to embrace this shit. And if I get, more, what do they say? Like, more like badges of, honor because I was able to survive this lifestyle for 2 or 3 years, then it's only going to benefit me in the long run, right? Because, dude, what's the alternative? Like, you lose your fucking mind, don't put out any content, you lose your umbrellas / fan base. Like, yeah, you're probably not wrong, bro. But I feel like that's like the only option he has right now. Because if he just being a pussy about this and like, oh, well, we'll see what happens, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, I think going on the offensive is the only side of this, because especially when Megan and it seems like her legal teams are all still trying to make him look like the the violent one. I need a restraining order from him. It's like, you need a restraining order from a guy who's in prison. Like, how the fuck does that work? So yeah, I think I think leaning into it was like the best option for him. But yeah, when I saw the album cover, I was like, oh, all right, 50 Cent. Like, let's just take it.
Yeah. I know it just, when I saw it, it kind of looked like a Fiverr cover to me or something. But,
yeah, bro. But I think a lot of this stuff, which is why I think the production was so surprising, because yeah, you would think there'd be moments of this that were low quality, right? Like, dude, you're in fucking jail, right? Like, what kind of photo shoot can we do for you, or recreate? So yeah, I would just say, comparing it to I Am Music and that like theme of like, bro, the production engineering on this was insane, bro. Like, how they were able to make sure he sounded so on beat. Like, there was that, and you probably know more of the correct term for this. It was definitely clear though that there was a gap where his voice was and where the beat was though throughout. I feel like that was constant, because like, I'm just going back to like us editing the pod, like, when the sounds aren't in sync perfectly, but man, this was close to perfect. Like, there were a couple of songs, like, if you didn't know the background story of what's happening, you wouldn't even know that, hey, this guy had to rap all this stuff through a fucking, iPhone in jail or some shit. However, though, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna contradict or have the opposite take to you. However, I think I just need to also put my cards on the table. Me personally, bro, like, I think, and that we have episodes to prove this over like course of 3 or 4 years, dude. I've been a Tory fan. There's been Tory moments, and I think his album, Memories Don't Die, the one that had BID and Shooters, like that was the one standout album for me, bro. But I remember a couple episodes that we did where like I shitted on that album, where it was like the mixtape where he like recreated everyone's song. Remember,
like
Chicks
Tape or whatever.
Yeah, that one. The dude, he had like if T-Pain had a banger from like 8 years ago, he'd read like all those songs, right? Like, bro, I never liked that about him, bro. Like, I never liked that, because it was confusing to me to figure out like, what is your sound? And bro, so I'm a Tory fan. I think he's innocent. I'm rooting for him. But bro, I truly struggle with this album, because I was like, dog, like, I was never really the biggest fan of the overall quality of music prior. And I just think he was at a disadvantage for me personally, because of, obviously, yes, you're hearing these beats, but you're not in a studio. You're not, you're not maybe clear-minded as you I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. For me, I really tried, bro. Like, I listened to this shit like 3 times, man, and I couldn't get one that I just like latched onto, because I was just like, bro, I wasn't even the biggest fan before. So if this is like my reintroduction to him after 2 or 3 years of being locked up, like, yeah, I truly struggled to like wrap my arms around this one.
Damn. I think for me, like, I don't know, I think the production, in contrast to Playboi Carti, I think his flow and vocals match very well on several tracks. And I think the vibe too varied quite a bit. Like, I think there were a lot of tracks where I'm like, okay, these are the 3 if I'm sitting by the pool I'll listen to. These are the 2 if I'm driving and I just want something hardcore to bump, or not hardcore, but like something that bumps. I'll listen to that. And then these 3 at the gym. Obviously that storyline you could only listen to so many times, or theme.
Yeah, maybe that was it. I think there's like, again, even if certain songs were different, I think the storyline of being at LA County, and I'm like, bro, I think I had a moment. I'm like, bro, if you say LA County Jail one more fucking time, I'm gonna lose my shit. Like,
right. And those are like the moments where I'm like, okay, that, like, in a weird way, it sounds kind of try hard. Like, now I get to rap about this. Like, yes, but that's why I ended up gravitating towards the songs that don't really talk about Megan or anything else. Even if they might be completely fake, like the Sailor Moon song, which is probably my favorite.
So if you had to give someone one song that was like in my boat, like that'd be the song you say go back to and like see what he's spitting on that song?
Yeah, I think Sailor Moon's probably my favorite. And I think the most Drake-esque, if assuming you're a fan of like R&B-ish rappy Drake. I mean, I'd say it's more R&B, but I think, that's probably my favorite song production wise.
Okay, I'm gonna peep that one, bro. Yeah, because I would say the first couple listens, I was like, I think the the jail conversation was too overwhelming for me that it just, when it pivoted to other stuff, like it was so ingrained in my head that like, I get it, you're in prison, but like, so that when you change the subject, I'm like, but you're saying this from prison, you know? Like, I don't know, man. It just like, yeah, I don't know. It was really, I really struggled to get like through it and like try to find like a groove of it. But again, it might have just been me, or again, I'm telling you, I was never the biggest Tory fan prior. So like, I don't think it's also fair to judge a guy off a 25 track or 21 songs and, you know, while you're in prison. So, but I'll peep Sailor Moon, and maybe that one can help me like rediscover the groove that you found. So I think it'll probably be fair for you to give the review then. So what is your like grade for Peterson?
Oh man, I'd probably say A minus.
Nice. And not even on a not comparing it to Carti, but just like on his own accord, like A minus.
Yeah, on its own accord, like thoroughly enjoyed pretty much every moment of it. Never really felt like I couldn't wait for it to end. In fact, I'd say the opposite. And the minus is just because there were a couple songs on there that I could have done without. Like I don't really need to listen to them again.
Yeah. Did you like the? I didn't mind the one where his dad was talking, because that shit just feels genuine. And like, again, if you know, God forbid, but you're in that position, I feel like, you know, do the same thing. So yeah. I'm gonna put incomplete for mine, but I'm gonna definitely listen to Sailor Moon first, and then try to see if I can like, you know, lure me in. But yeah, bro, I think it was I think the LA County jail stuff on like dude, it's like, remember when Game would just like constantly just like name check? It's like, all right, bro, like I get it, man, but like what else? You know, like
right.
That's how I felt.
And it's not even like downplaying that, like, oh, they're not really like that or anything like that. But when you mention it too many times, I begin to think that like maybe you don't even believe that like this is some shit that like you're about.
Yeah, that was my thing, bro. It was just I was too aware throughout too many songs in a row that you were in prison, and I'm like, I know you're there, bro. I get that. We're bought in, but what else, bro? Because it's not like my thing was like, it's not like you're giving us a little 6-5 track EP to keep us interested. You're saying this is a body of work. So I think it's like, dude, 20 songs about like essentially the same subject, or what it felt like, because maybe some of the songs were like so towards that. That's where I was a little thrown off. But I'll give it another listen, because I'll admit maybe it's incomplete for me because it just threw me off so much about the LA County jail stuff. But A minus from Blair, incomplete from me. Let us know in the comments what you thought about the Peterson Tory Lanez album. All right, bro, where do you want to go? You want to go with the Doechii, Lauryn Hill, or kind of end it with the Drake and the Cryptic and the UMG firing back in a loss in the in court today?
Let's do Doechii, because there's been so much chatter about that, and the Drake stuff I'm sure will change, you know, in a couple of days.
The storyline, yeah. So why don't you let the people know about like the Doechii, Lauryn Hill cosign?
Yeah, so essentially, Lauryn Hill was performing. I forget exactly the name of the show or venue, but she had brought out Doechii to perform with her. I believe That Thing, which is a famous Lauryn Hill song. And for obvious reasons, I think that kind of moment in collaboration made sense, because Doechii is one of the few female hip hop artists that has won a Grammy for Best Album. Best hip hop.
Yeah, it was, right? Jazz in the Gardens.
Jazz in the Gardens.
That was the event in Miami. Yeah, Jazz in the Gardens. It's like an annual thing they've been doing for years. Obviously, I think it started out with jazz, then just became like whatever's popular in Black culture. They kind of just focus on that. Got it.
Well, I mean, for whatever reason, and I think this has been a kind of a long-standing issue ever since Doechii hit the scene, the mainstream scene, is that people feel like she's been getting her flowers far too early. And as you know, when that happens, people accuse you of becoming or being an industry plant. And on top of that, with Kendrick's victory over Drake and just like unprecedented year, people also feel like TDE is tugging strings here or pulling strings here and there to get Doechii to the top. And it's unfortunate because, you know, many people would dream to be in her position, but when everyone feels like you haven't earned it, I can imagine mentally that must take a toll on you, and potentially financially if people start to turn on her and
Yeah.
think it's all fake. So yeah, I wanted to kind of discuss this whole industry plant narrative and in the idea of like when giving flowers even makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a great thing. I was telling Blair offline before we jumped on. It's I had a good friend who was at the show, bro. Lauryn Hill. So when you think of Lauryn Hill, what's like the stereotype you think about immediately?
I mean, nowadays, late, unreliable, has been.
Yeah, that's dude, late and unreliable. I would go has been because again, it's funny. I think some of her lateness is because of her ego. Because bro, like at the end of the day, like dude, she has such bangers that are just unforgettable moments in so many people from a certain age's life that dude, think about weddings now. Like bro, you got to play at least two Lauryn Hill songs.
My mom's favorite artist.
That's what I'm saying. And that's probably for the last like 30 plus years, right? So yeah. I get that stuff. But dude, she was 2.5 hours late. And then because Doechii was only there be a part of her set, Doechii could even go on until Lauryn Hill was on stage. So bro, there was like a 2-hour window that the DJ's just playing. And then Wyclef had to come out and be like, hey guys, we're going to start soon. Hope you're vibing. So just like, I love that, like, even when someone is like stereotype is that, you would think they would try to change, but she was true to herself. But I would say to the idea of like, if it's too early to give flowers, man, I don't know, man. I feel there's a time in a life and there's a time and place where like something is just genuinely so different in a positive way that you shouldn't wait till someone's been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years to be like, oh, dude, like, go or do that, right? Great job, right? And I think, again, it's a great parallel with Lauryn Hill because I mean, I remember being at my dad had a record store when like she was really popping. Again, she did have those 2 or 3 or 4 years prior with the Fuji, so she was well known. But bro, when that first album dropped for her, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, bro, she got all the fucking flowers in the world, and that was her new artist debut, right? So I think there is a standard of like, regardless of how long someone's been doing it, if they're clearly gifted, which I think all of us, bro, we do. We were talking about Doechii on this pod. I mean, from a music hip hop standpoint, R&B, like, bro, it's good. It's everything. If you love female rap, you also love her because even though she doesn't just talk about, sucking dick for 2 hours, like it's still there, and she still makes it very clear that she's a female that is sexual, but it's not the only context. And she also does it in a way that's either clever, funny, ironic, but also just sounds good. So yeah, man, I don't know. Again, she might prove to be an industry plant, whatever the case may be. But I feel like you shouldn't deny someone's talent if it's so blatantly obvious, especially when you have there's a track record of like, you'll know what good is when you see it, right? Like some people just have that like je ne sais quoi, right? Like she has that, bro. Like the moment you heard her for the first time, you were like, bro, it's just a star, right? So I don't believe in like waiting 4 or 5 years to see if like, oh, can she do it again? And then we'll give her flowers.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because one of her more popular songs, she literally says, put your dicks up and get your dick sucked. So apparently that's what the people want.
Yeah, but she also has a TikTok banger right now. I mean, I know the song was on the album.
The Anxiety?
Yeah, but that shit is, bro, like that's like, I can't even open my phone without that being the first sound that pops up.
Yeah. And it's funny because that song she had remixed, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And TikTok is, I think one of the beauties of TikTok is a song could literally be 40 years old and all it takes is some momentum. And now it's the hottest shit, like it was released yesterday. So it's ironic because her old songs are becoming the hits and people are still calling her a plant as if she hadn't been making shit.
How funny. That is very funny. What are your thoughts on her being like, or maybe the delay in giving people the due respects they deserve?
Yeah, in the most unbiased perspective, I understand where people are coming from in the sense of like, if you don't have, a song like Tommy Richmond where it's just constantly blasting, I understand why people would find it hard to understand how you're getting Grammys and all these shows and stuff without like one single standout song or an album that wins a Grammy that doesn't have like hasn't been on the charts for, months. But at the same time, I think a lot of people just have it misconstrued as far as like what the work that people put in behind the scenes to get famous. I think a lot of people feel like all you do is just upload a few fucking SoundCloud songs and
Well,
you get lucky.
yeah.
And like, every now and then that might happen, but that's just not the reality. And I think that's the problem. And I knew it firsthand when I've promoted one of my songs on like a live stream. Like, obviously I use ads to promote my music, and like some people were clowning that the video had a lot of views, but not many comments, as if like artists aren't supposed to grind and do this
Promote their shit.
To get
Yeah,
momentum. And then, when they do catch on, just because you don't know who they are doesn't mean they don't have thousands of people who do. So I agree with you. I don't think it's too early to give flowers, but I do agree how it can look a certain way if it all seems to happen so fast, because now she's doing TikToks with Will Smith. Before you know it, she's gonna be with Bezos on the moon fucking crip walking or some shit. And people are gonna be like, how is this? Like, I get that she's good, but how is it happening too fast? And then people are gonna shy away from it because you begin to feel like the industry's like spoon feeding you the music, or like saying, hey, you need to like this. Like, if you don't like this, something's wrong with you. And I think that's kind of how people are. They don't want to be too overtly sold to.
Yeah, or also don't want to be told what's popular when they've never, like sometimes when you and I find like new music or a new artist, we're like, oh shit, thank God, right? Whereas I think a lot of people sometimes, maybe with her, I feel like sometimes it's like, well, dude, there's no way she's that good because I never heard of her, right?
Right.
And it's like, okay, like, dude, you know how many fucking artists get uploaded every day to SoundCloud and Apple and Spotify that we never heard of, right? So, yeah, I just think there's probably just like a fear of the unknown. Like, how is this artist I've never heard of apparently now signed to the biggest rap label and is doing the Grammys and Jimmy Fallon and Tiny Desk all within like an 8-month span? Like, how the fuck is that possible, right? So,
right.
I don't know, bro. I think there's a lot of people who are just like super haters, and they can hide that only for so long. And when it's just like the person they're hating on, the idea of them is being shown in someone else, I think sometimes people just can't, hold that hate back, bro. And I think she's like a depiction of that, right? Because we also normally don't have a darker skinned black female who's so well spoken, so well dressed, wearing the Gucci, but putting her hair like, like a normal African American look, and then still doing the crazy numbers, right? It's almost feel like in the past you had to pick and choose. So I feel like that's like a threat to like what people think of when it comes to like the female rapper. And I think I think it's beautiful, because I think hip hop, and bro, honestly, I think like young female artists need examples like that. Like, bro, you don't have to do what everyone's doing, and you can still do really good shit. Yeah.
And I agree. I think that's the most beautiful thing about it personally, is just seeing someone, dark skin, having fun, be celebrated by so many people. I do think there are a portion of people who, like, I think part of it too is, I think part of the fun in music is supporting and seeing the come up. And if it feels like that's kind of already been mission complete,
like you weren't able to be there on grad like day one kind of a thing.
Yeah. So, like, there's no chance to be like, damn, I can't wait till she gets.
Damn, that's a great point.
Damn, I can't wait till Legends acknowledge her. But like, the Legends acknowledged her. She's got a Grammy. Now what? Like, she's got to make another fucking hit album, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point, bro. Because sometimes the love that we have when we listen to artists is that you remember when they were performing in front of 20 people, because you also were one of the 20 people, right? Like, I think there was a fondness for Wiz. Again, when you're reaching out to him and picking him up at the airport when you're a broke college kid, right? As opposed to like the first time you saw him, he saw an arena. You're like, well, I mean, I can really relate. Yeah, that's a good point, man. That there might be some of that here too, because it's hard to. You can't root for the underdog, right? Because Drake was an underdog at one point. Kendrick was an underdog at one point. And obviously, so was she, right? But no one knew of her story when she was the underdog. Whereas, like, ironically, people were there when Drake looked bummy and Kendrick looked like he was still in the projects, but like there was a fondness for their talent that we were exposed to. Yeah, that's yeah, dude. I like that take because yeah, I think some of that must be there because yeah, I can see how a fan can also just be confused, like how the fuck kind of a thing, as opposed to genuine hate.
Right. And what I don't want it to turn into is like, okay, now people questioning, are we supporting her because she's, you know, a black artist who normally would get discriminated against, or are we supporting her because we genuinely think she can carry the torch of hip hop? And I would much rather it be like she is the one to carry hip hop, and like everyone's gonna be, you know, supporting her. Because if it turns into something where like we're just fighting for her to not be discriminated against, I think it's gonna take the fun out of the music.
Yeah, I think so too, especially because the music is so fun right now.
Right.
That would suck if it becomes something else. Yeah, but we'll see, man. I like to think that I know you need the masses to join in and like keep some artists at like a crazy level, but I do think she's been able, even in this amazing come up that was so quick, to get true fans to jump on board. And like maybe not true fans of her just yet, but true fans of music that like, yo, this is too good to be undeniable, right? Like if I come across some like indie band or some shit, like, all right, maybe I don't know about you when you were doing, you know, a show for 10 people at a bar, but man, this shit's so good that, all right, whatever you do next, I'm on for the ride, right? I think she's been able to do that in a real way that I think when all the noise dies down, because it naturally will at some point, especially in this day and age, I think she will have a large enough fan base that she'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm rooting for her. I think she's definitely capable. I just hope the pressure doesn't overwhelm her to the point where like she thinks she has all these crazy expectations that have to be met just over and over and over.
Yeah, because it's weird. Like we're probably already waiting for her sophomore album, and it's like, bro, everyone was just introduced to her freshman album like 3 months ago. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, all right, what's next? It's like, what the fuck, dude? Normally, it's like there's a rollout. I do one song. You know, I'm in the studio. Yeah, it's very interesting. Like it seems like everybody's like already like, what's next for her? So, yeah, but again, dude, again, not to this versus that, but I think TDE also has a proven track record of like once they identify you as a star, they make sure the rest of your career is pretty much lined out for you in a very amazing way.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. They seemingly are like one of the few labels that care about artist development and making sure the craft and art comes first.
Yeah, bro. R&B, hip hop, like I feel like with them, like less is very much more, and like there's like true artist development that takes place there. So I can't imagine. And dude, she's in the best situation right now for, again, popularity wise for sure, but also like a label that's going to truly groom her to be whatever she's capable of being in music. So yeah, shout out to her, and shout out to Lauryn Hill for still being late as fuck at like 55 years old. So cool, my G. All right, man, before we get out of here, it's been a couple weeks. What you got for Heat of the Week on episode 205?
Man, a lot of good music since we last spoke, both newly discovered and older artists. But to be honest, I'll do two, just because. I mean, I already mentioned Sailor Moon by Tory Lanez. That's a
Yes,
given. But I wanted to put you and people on to an artist who used to follow. He was actually, this is gonna sound creepy as hell, he was only like 12 years old when I first discovered him. But he was a rapper who had a feature on the song, and I was aware of who the feature was, but not this rapper. At the
Okay.
time, he was like a very innocent kid. My curiosity was like, oh, what's he up to nowadays? And it seems like he's ventured into like a very dark emo phase, which is a bit concerning, because to see a 12-year-old who like never did drugs, obviously, to have like a bunch of face tats and talk about all kinds of wild
Oh,
shit
damn.
is
So you've seen that evolution.
it's kind of disturbing. I'm not gonna be honest. Like I can imagine what parents deal with if their child goes down that path. But as you know, unfortunately, that darkness tends to produce really good art. Um, But this song I think you'll like is called Camera Shy by Chris Miles. And I would say the sound of it is kind of 80s influence, similar to that guy I showed you. What? Oh shit! I know you know what I'm talking about, but his name was, and we were trying to interview him at one point. Oh, Johnny Yukon.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
a similar vibe to that, but I think you'll like it. It's called Camera Shy. I like it because it's a different vibe than what I'm accustomed to from modern music, and I've replayed that quite a bit.
Nice. So Camera Shy and Sailor Moon. Yeah, I never even heard of this dude before. Chris Miles, Miles.
Yeah, Chris Miles, Miles.
Okay. Oh, it came out like a year ago. All right, bet. Yeah, I'll definitely peep that tonight. Man, for me, dude, I did it because I've been playing this "Life Is Beautiful" on repeat, and then I go right back to some songs, some sexy songs for you, dude. So I'm not gonna put any one song, but I am gonna put remind people of this R&B group. I think you and I spoke about this. I went to see them when I was in New York a few years ago. Remember this R&B group called They? The two
Yeah, yeah.
dudes? Yeah. So, dude, they came out with a small EP, 10 songs. Dude, just listen to the album. The album's called Love Jones. I would just say if you have some time, it's an easy listen to, man. It's fucking 26 minutes, so nothing crazy. But, man, it was just refreshing, one, to know they're still putting out music together. They still sound as good as they did when I first saw them on that Greatest Day Ever stage in the Bronx in 2017. Yeah, just like a fun R&B, nothing over the top, just like truly like baby making, or hey, let's go on a first date, play this on the ride to the restaurant type shit. So like there's not any one song I'm gonna say that's like, oh my God, you have to listen to this. But again, it's only 10 songs. Highly recommend Love Jones. If you have any kind of R&B inkling, this will tap into that in a real way. Because really, dude, think about it. I know technically Party Next Door and Drake was an R&B/hip hop album, but not really, bro. You know, so like we don't really get like true R&B albums anymore until R. Kelly gets out, hopefully. So, so let's. I think this is a really good album that a lot of people will enjoy.
Dope. Yeah, no. When it comes to R&B, they're one of the few that like I genuinely get excited about. So I'm glad you told me, because I didn't realize they have released an actual album. I thought it was just a single.
No, yeah, 10 tracks. I mean, the first song is a completely an intro, so really it's like 9 songs. But yeah, dude, Diamonds and Pearls stood out to me. Rotation, Drive Through. I think that according to Apple Music, Straight Up is the most popular one. But yeah, man, it's just like a good vibe, man. It's just like, again, it reminds me, dude, when we were kids, like it felt like we had. I know obviously Usher and Chris Brown were the stars, but it felt like we had way more like quality, like dude, like John B, Donnell Jones, Carl Thomas, like people who like truly loved R&B music, you know? Like, and like I feel like we just don't have that anymore, which is probably why like I think there's times like you get like frustrated by R&B in general. I just don't want to listen to it because it's like it's not. I think there's just not good quality R&B music anymore. Because even like Chris Brown, we love him to death, but like he'll give you a 40 song album. You're like, bro, what the fuck am I meant to do with this? You know, like
right? No, exactly.
So yeah, check out Love Jones, good body of work, and I'm gonna definitely check out your boy Chris Miles, and definitely Sailor Moon, bro. I'm gonna start there and just see if that can help me just like make it through the rest of this album in a different mindset. Because again, the LA County, I'm glad I wasn't crazy, bro. Because I'm like, bro, is he saying this, bro? Like,
no, the Sailor Moon in particular, the bass is really good. So if you have a chance to let that really showcase itself, I highly recommend it.
Cool. All right, my G. Well, let's get out of here. Episode 205 in the books. Episode 204 is everywhere. Let the people know where they can find us and what we got going on.
Yes, sir. Catch us at audio-theory.com. New episode every week on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, you obviously see the new format for the mini clips. If you're not on YouTube, be sure to check that out. Definitely more engaging than it used to be, but welcoming any feedback that you guys have. If you're on the website, you can cop merch as well, and also check out the Heat of the Week Spotify and Apple Music playlist for the Heat of the Week selections. But other than that, please like, subscribe, comment, donate, share, do what you can to support the channel.
Do what you can. Love you, bro.
Love you too. Peace.
Peace.